We really appreciate you being here for the Gender Matters Conference, David. You've been a big part of the Matrix conversation and have contributed to a lot of the thought that's gone into what's happened here. And so thank you. We just appreciate you being here and taking the time out to come.
I appreciate being a part of it.
You just shared, and thanks for doing it over lunch for us. And you started off by getting incredibly real, incredibly quick, with a room full of people who you didn't know. Let me ask you, for the people out here who are listening and aspiring speakers, how do you find a place of authenticity like that you found, and then find the comfort and the ability to be as honest and as genuine as you were, and to not hide behind stories that don't mean anything, and then tell us how to tap into that same kind of authenticity you just did out there.
Okay. I think that comes, I know that comes from the way I've been brought up in the 12-step support group, where people call you on the stories that are made up. You know, where we're ants to share the language of love, to share the language from your heart, not from your head. And I've at times shared stories that I got out of textbooks, and it doesn't connect. You know, the spirit and the soul connects with the soul. So taking that opportunity and saying, you know what, the God of my understanding has blessed me with life, and if it can help someone else, there's a song that says, what weapon formed against me can destroy me? Excuse me. So I approach it from that point. If I'm doing the work of the God of my understanding, then it's going to be okay.
Thanks. You talk about your journey at 12 steps, in the 12-step community, and then it's 6 months knowing that you needed more. I think a big part of what this conference is, I hope what it is us empowering people to raise their hand and say it's okay to need a little bit more. Will you tell us about that decision to go, I don't even really know if I want to say past 12-step, but to add on to your 12-step with seeking more help outside of that? Can you, maybe the person who's even right there thinking about it?
Sure. And like I had shared, I was clean, working 8-step. I completed the 1st step. I was entrenched in the 12-step and making coffee, putting out cigarette ashtrays, going to service work, actually going to prisons to carry the message not as a verbal person but as a physical being. And things just weren't going right. I wasn't happy. I was depressed. I was wishing I was dead. And I didn't know what else to do. And luckily I had a supervisor who probably was in trauma-informed care, but somehow she knew that there was more work to be done. And it wasn't just about the substances that I was ingesting, which is what the 12-step programs tell us. It's not about the substances per se, it's about the way you think and behave. And I was really grateful that the 12-step group that I was a part of, they supported me in going and getting treatment. You know, and our literature clearly says we're not doctors, we're not therapists, we're not psychiatrists, and if you need those things, we will support you in going to get them. And that made all the difference in the world, because had they said, stay here and just work the steps, I probably would have attempted suicide again. And we know a lot more now, and our literature even talks about abuse in our working the 12 steps. So now men don't have to feel like I shouldn't do the work. Ironically, in the treatment programs that I was a part of, we were telling people they needed to wait a year to 5 years before they actually do the work.
Right.
So how many men have died as a result of us telling them, you're not ready to do the work, you're not ready to do the work? They are ready. They've been ready. 9 times out of 10, they already know they know their history. It's in their conscious mind. They just might not know how to verbalize it. So, take that risk, which is a big step. Take a risk and talk to somebody. Go get some help. The majority of people that have clean time that I know have gone through counseling or therapy. We just don't talk about it in meetings because we're not trying to promote an outside agency. But we're doing the work.
But it's okay to talk about it outside of that. Me too.
Yes.
Me too. You said something that really struck me, and I just wanted to get you to share with whoever ends up watching this and get a little more thoughts on it. You described this as pieces of art in the making.
Right. And explain that I studied trauma with Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, and he talked about the pieces that make up a person, and that we all have these pieces, and it's not negative. Frequently we think about dissociative identity and dissociation as a negative. It's very clinical, and he taught us that it doesn't have to be, that we all have these pieces to us. And for me, as a person who is aspiring to be an artist, that resonates, that I'm a piece of art in the making. And for me, knowing that this life isn't the end of the journey, that we're just like a piece of coal that's getting cleaned up so that it can sparkle to go on to my next home. So for me, it's about art.
It takes a lot of pressure off thinking of it that way.
Yeah, it really does.
The last thing, you touched on it here, and I think if we'd had more time, you could have gone into more depth. But you talked very briefly about the idea of living versus surviving.
Right. For me, and this is personally for me, surviving still elicits a certain level of victimhood. To me, I survived cancer. Today, I am living a life. Those things that happened to me were horrible and shaped some of who I am, but they're not all of who I am. They're not all of who I am. They're just pieces of that puzzle that's turning out to be the man that I hope and want to be.
That's a beautiful way to end it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking a minute to sit down with us.
Thank you for CEDAR for being such an awesome agency.
Thanks.